These Scottish bands refused to play by the rules. They got no record label polish, no commercial sellout. Just raw sound, brutal energy and total defiance. But are they the kings of Scottish rock? Let's find out. Now, when people think of Scottish rock, a few names usually float to the top. How about Simple Minds, Franz Ferdinand, Big Country, maybe even Biffy Clyro for the modern crowd? But what if I told you that underneath that well-lit surface lies a far grittier, much more adventurous musical history, one stitched together by outsiders? Bands who never quite broke into the global spotlight, but who forged something much deeper, more daring, more Scottish in spirit if not in sound. Now today I'm not just revisiting the golden hits. I'm digging into 9 bands who in their own way shaped the country's underground, and in doing so may just deserve the crown of Scottish rock royalty. We'll see. The first band we're looking at is Comedy of Errors. These were a band who fused neo-prog complexity with distinctly Scottish melancholy.
Finders, keepers, losers, sweepers, shouting, what did you feel?
Emerging from the early 1980s, they took cues from perhaps Marillion and Genesis, but avoided mimicry. What set them apart was the emotional depth. You could really hear the rain-soaked streets of Glasgow in every melodic swell.
King of kings will smile on us today. We are changed.
Now, their 2013 album, Fanfare and Fantasy, isn't just a late career surprise. It's a progressive rock masterclass. There's lush instrumentation. They've got shifting time signatures and really theatrical storytelling without pretension of some of the other bands. Prog for grown-ups, eh?
Eternity has just begun, but it's true to win that path first.
But are they kings? Well, perhaps not to the masses. But in the progressive circles, there's something close to revered. Now let's talk about the Blue Nile. The complete antithesis to stadium rock. Their debut, A Walk Across the Rooftops in 1984, is really minimalism elevated to a spiritual plane.
Too long to go from rags to riches.
Paul Buchanan's voice feels like a memory you don't know you had. The production is sparse but cinematic. Silence matters as much as sound. Americans in particular might associate them with perhaps the art rock acts like Talk Talk or very early Peter Gabriel. But the Blue Nile weren't trying to follow trends, they were making moods into their own music. They didn't tour much, they barely released albums. But what they did, they created cathedrals really out of air.
Automobile noise out in the track.
Royalty? Well, if emotional resonance were the only metric, they'd certainly be wearing that crown. The third band we're looking at is The Almighty. Now, this is a name that really screams attitude to it. In the early 90s, when grunge was eating hair metal alive, The Almighty planted their boots firmly in the dirt between hard rock and punk. These guys were raw, they were loud, uncompromising. Soul Destruction in 1991 captured that aggression perfectly. It's a thundering mix of Motorhead grit and Celtic fire.
Time to understand. It's pretty.
They were never darlings of the UK press, surprisingly, but they did have a loyal fan base and undeniable stage presence. In the US, they were too heavy for alternative radio, and they were too smart for metalheads. But live, boy, they could blow the roof off. Kings? Well, maybe not universally, but princes of the grittier Scottish rock lineage, no doubt at all. Next band is Goodbye Mr. Mackenzie. Now, if you're looking for the great what-if story in Scottish music, then this band is just for you. Goodbye, Mr. Mackenzie. They were part gothic, part punk, part pure pop chaos, and yes, they featured a very young Shirley Manson before she fronted Garbage. Their self-titled debut in 1989 is a frenetic, genre-blurry whirlwind. There's drama in every track. It's like Bowie meets Joy Division with a Glasgow sneer. That's a vision. They were courted by labels, supported by legends, but never really quite cracked the code.
This one's a hot one.
Yet their influence lingers, surely took that fire to global fame. The rest, tragically unheard. Are they kings? Well, perhaps not by chart standards, but to musicians who followed, then absolutely. The interestingly named Dog-Faced Hermans, they are next, and we enter a chaotic heart of Scottish underground with this band. The Hermans mixed punk, jazz, noise and protest into something quite feral. Based in Edinburgh and deeply politically engaged, they collaborated with Dutch anarcho-prog legends, the X. Their live shows were more like rituals. Tracks like Bela Lugosi's Back aren't songs, they're confrontations. The Stretchheads, meanwhile, were sonic mayhem incarnate. Part dadaist performance art, part hardcore punk. Their album titles like 5 Fingers, 4 Fingers, A Thumb, A Facelift and A New Identity, that's a mouthful, really say it all. They didn't want a mainstream audience at all. What they did want was freedom. Now, are these bands kings? Well, maybe not in a traditional sense, but in the punk underworld, they're absolute legends. Next, we look at Fish. And you can't really talk about Scottish rock without mentioning Fish, this towering ex-frontman of Marillion. Born Derek Dick, Fish brought theatricality, poetry and real raw emotion to the neo-prog scene in the 1980s. His solo career, especially albums like Vigil in a Wilderness of Mirrors, really shows a man wrestling with fame, politics and identity. He sings like a prophet in a crisis. His lyrics are novels in miniature. Now in the UK, Fish is practically revered. In the US, he's more of a cult icon than a household name, but there's no denying the weight he brought to Scottish rock. Kingship? Well, in the progressive lineage, absolutely. Next, we have the Head Boys and the Cuban Heels. Now, despite really only having one official album, this was 1979's self-titled album, these guys left a lasting impression. The shape of things to come is synth rock prophecy. It's catchy, urgent, futuristic. Now it's easy to imagine them touring with Ultravox or The Cars, but they didn't last that long as they captured all but a moment. The Cuban Heels were born from the ashes of punk and delivered jangly, smart post-punk in the vein of Orange Juice or The Fall. They were literate, sharp, and danceable. Really the thinking person bar band. Were they king? But no, they were vital to the DNA of Scotland's new wave and post-punk credibility. So, are any of these bands the real kings of Scottish rock? Well, if you're looking at perhaps chart success, probably not. that commercial crown still belongs to the likes of Simple Minds, Travis or Franz Ferdinand. But if you're looking to be measuring influence, integrity and innovation, then this list gives a deeper truth. These bands didn't just play songs, they really made statements. They shaped subcultures, inspired future icons, and really pushed the boundaries of what Scottish rock could mean to all. They didn't play for hits, they played because they had to, and in that way, maybe the real kings aren't the ones at the top of the charts, but the ones really who built the underground, that underlevel below it. So what do you guys think out there? Are these the true kings of Scottish rock? Or are there real rivals still lurking in your record collection? Let me know in the comments if you will. And if this has hit a chord with you, then really don't forget to give the video a like. That means such a lot. There is additional information in the description area that you really may find worthwhile, so check this information out if you will. Now this is not the first time I've looked at the Scottish prog and rock scene. The very first time was a video I shot probably a couple of months ago now, and that looks at more of the prime Scottish bands and is packed with information. Now watch that video next, and I'll see you over there.